What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today we're jumping into some more Orcs Must Die Unchained. This time, we will be going into Your Own Devices, the weekly challenge for the week of January 17th, 2017, and we are going to finally get that Oziel completion done. So, here we go. If you're unfamiliar, this weekly has you with 10 times the mana regeneration, but no traps dealing damage. The only way you have to deal damage are your character, a Ring of Storms, and a Ice Amulet. So if you're not familiar with them, you'll get to take a look at exactly how they work here, and hopefully that'll give you some insight. But here we go.
Enemy, friend, it makes no difference.
Alright, so let's take a quick look at Oziel. Oziel's the Soul Thief because he literally harvests souls. Soul Harvest will absorb a soul from any dying minion that happens to be within a certain range of Oziel, and it increases his maximum mana. The more mana you have, the more damage all of Oziel's attacks will do. Now, his attacks themselves are actually pretty interesting. Q is Consecrated Ground. You chuck a jar of pickled souls at the enemies. Whatever it hits or lands on will get this little purple ghastly goo on the ground, and it will slow enemies as well as deal arcane damage over time to them while they're in the area. So it's actually pretty effective. It's his only true AoE move to start. You can add AoE properties to his other ability, his Haunting Spirits, but with a Weaver, but that's not until tier 4, so you got to make it to level 10 for that. Haunting Spirits is actually really powerful. It will haunt up to 3 enemies at a time during its casting. It lasts for about 10 seconds and then has a 100-second cooldown. So it is probably one of the heaviest. It's the heaviest cooldown move in the game right now. They did not turn down the cooldown here at all. So that's super scary. If you happen to have a trait that offers you a bonus cooldown, I would definitely recommend using it, or using one of them if you have multiples with Oziel pretty much at all times, just because of how powerful Haunting Souls is and how useful it is at all times. Oziel also has a unique mechanic where he can channel his life into his mana to regenerate his mana. It used to not regenerate at all, but since I believe it does have some minor regeneration, just like everyone else. And his left click attack, Vampiric Slash, which is essentially a hit scan arcane damage attack, leeches 4% of the damage dealt as life back to Oziel. So he essentially, as long as you don't take too much damage, can regenerate his life on his own. So he doesn't really need to carry the Vegetable of Mending, unlike most other characters. And then his right click attack is Wraith Surge. He fires a projectile similar to Smolder's Fireball that does a high amount of damage, and every time you actually land a hit on an enemy, it will gain a stack of Wraith Surge. That stack will increase the damage and the mana cost of Wraith Surge up to 3 times, with the third one making it deal about 10 times the damage of your normal attack or somewhere close to that. And it's extremely good for taking down heavy enemies or bosses at range. Oh, I missed that one. I missed it again. Okay. If you don't land a hit in too long, then it does become an issue. Oh, alright, so I got the lightning ring out, and we got the pickled souls tossed down. I'm actually going to pop Haunting Spirits immediately, just because these ogres tend to be pretty tough. Now, you have to make sure that you keep the lightning ring doing its thing. If you don't, since Oziel possesses very little in the way of AoE abilities, it will actually be a bit of a problem for him to kill large groups of enemies at once. So his lack of AoE skill pretty much forces you to rely on a combination of the Consecrated Ground as well as the Lightning Ring. Now, as Oziel, because of his whole mana gaining, damage increasing over time as you play, actually starts off dealing a little bit less damage than most other characters because it more than makes up for it in the end. Okay. So we use the Ice Amulet just to make quick work of the boss, and then we're going to decrease the cooldown on Consecrated Ground. So we can toss that in front of our Guardian, and that will also cause anybody that would have been close to the Guardian to take a bunch of that damage off of us. Alright. I guess I can spend a little bit of time. You don't really need to build much more than the initial starting setup here. You can, but after this wave, I'm going to want to actually try to run upstairs and build the barricade setup that I used there, just to make sure. Whoa. Alright, actually, let me try to weaken these guys, because that's the most important thing to me right now. Making sure that they die so that they can't deal me too much damage. Alright. There we go. And then when these guys get next to your Guardian, tossing the souls in your Guardian slows them down so that they can't just run past your Guardian, in addition to making sure that you can kind of force them to take more damage from your jars.
They've summoned a boss minion.
Okay. I need to get back ASAP because this boss is going to be accompanied by pretty much nothing but kobolds. And kobolds are really funny because they generally just die running over the jar. And then after you pop your lightning ring, you're pretty much golden there. So I like taking jagged shards for the second weaver, mainly because it... Alright, let me actually switch to the Ice Amulet, freeze these guys. I like taking it just because it adds a lot of extra damage onto his most useful ability, just because you can use it a lot more often. Alright, so get a little bit of time to run back up there. We're just going to mash Q, or Z, sorry. And once we get back up here, we're going to do the same thing we did with the other two characters. We're going to blockade this area off so that the enemies just can't run into our rift. And you have to be careful with this because Oziel is a bit slower moving than the other characters that you have to do this challenge with. Don't spend as much time trying to weaken these guys. You really just want to get close to them so you can grab the souls. Alright, and now let's get over here. Okay. You actually want to try to keep them away from your Guardian here, and that's primarily going to be because he is really close to your rift. Gonna try to back off a little bit just to regenerate my mana. Alright, you don't want your Guardian to get over aggroed. Once he does that, he'll discharge the rift. It's super bad for you. And right clicking will pretty much insta-kill any of the regular guys that you'll be fighting. I almost forgot to run out. Alright, so if you've seen the other videos, 2 before is coming now. Okay. And so what I mentioned before about Great Surge being super good for damage, yeah, there you go. Pretty much wrecks the boss without the need for the rings or the Ice Amulet or anything else. Oziel's just really good at damage. Alright. Alright, toss that jar. Heal up. Let the Let him take care of the rest, and then we're going to double the souls here. Now, I need to not let them get too close. Okay. If they manage to get around this corner here, they might try to charge, and I still have to take care of the other guys coming around the corner, which they don't give you quite as much time to do. Alright. No thank you. Ogres are really your biggest issue there. You don't let the ogres do anything, you are A-okay. Alright, so the lightning jar combo pretty much guarantees you to get a lot of damage because enemies dying to the lightning will explode in a small area around them. Let's just pop this now. And enemies that are in the jar will take the extra damage, so it makes the lightning more likely to kill them.
Pretend I'm feeling joy.
There we go. And that may have been a new personal best for me. What was that score? Not the time. Oh, I'm count level 68 now. More damage, more life. Alright, 409,604. 409,604. That was my personal best. Wow, I didn't expect to actually complete that faster with Oziel just because of his slower movement speed. But I guess the combination of multi-kills actually increased the score quite a bit. So there you have it. That is the final completion for this week's weekly. Hopefully that lets you guys get that last box. It definitely got it for me. And you guys can have some more fun with this if you want to try to go for the top of the leaderboards. Either way, as always, thanks for watching, guys. I sincerely appreciate it. And until next time, have a good one.